September 26, 2025. Darkness blankets the southern coast of Alabama as the United States prepares to strike. Hidden beneath the moonless sky, the Cartel del Golfo, a ruthless alliance forged from the remnants of the Sinaloa and Gulf cartels, has transformed the Gulf Coast into a deadly smuggling highway. Tonight, they're moving their most valuable cargo yet. A massive freighter disguised as an ordinary cargo vessel cuts through the black waters, carrying over 8,000 pounds of pure methamphetamine and fentanyl precursors. The street value, a staggering $312 million. This single shipment contains enough poison to devastate over 1 million American lives. On deck, nearly 50 heavily armed smugglers stand guard, wielding AK-103 rifles, M16A2s, and short-barreled Uzi submachine guns. They believe they're invisible. They're about to learn otherwise. The United States has had enough. The order comes down from the highest levels: intercept, engage, destroy. 120 DEA tactical agents, backed by 80 CBP officers, take positions along the shoreline. Offshore, the Coast Guard cutter Hamilton leads a strike force of 6 Hammer fast response boats. Above, an MH-60 Jayhawk helicopter circles silently, while 3 Navy MQ-21A Blackjack drones spread across the sky in a lethal surveillance grid. The trap is set. Will this billion-dollar cartel empire slip through American fingers, or will justice finally prevail? Stay with me. The truth is about to explode. Inside the DEA's Gulf Coast Intelligence Office in Mobile, Alabama, the night air is thick with tension. The only sound is the low hum of radar equipment. Then, on one glowing screen, a cluster of slow-moving dots materializes 45 nautical miles south of Pascagoula. The operator's blood runs cold. For 6 months, the DEA has been hunting a phantom, the Cartel del Golfo, a sprawling drug empire controlling a smuggling corridor stretching from Veracruz, Mexico, through Louisiana, and deep into Alabama's southern coast. It's one of the most elusive criminal networks in North America. Intelligence agencies call it the invisible backbone of the Gulf, and behind those glowing radar dots lies an empire worth killing for. Using confidential informants, satellite intelligence, wiretaps, and local sources, intelligence analysts have pieced together a terrifying pattern. 18 small boats per month, each smuggling approximately 470 pounds of ultra-pure methamphetamine disguised as frozen seafood shipments. Now, under cover of fog, a single massive convoy carries 8,460 pounds of death, worth over $312 million on the black market. Enough lethal substance to end 1.2 million lives. Inside the operations room, the air reeks of stale coffee, worn maps, and raw fear. 120 DEA tactical agents and 80 CBP officers deploy along the coastline. Offshore, the 210-foot USCGC patrol boat Hamilton coordinates with 6 Hammer rapid response boats, an MH-60 Jayhawk helicopter, and 3 Navy MQ-21A Blackjack drones spreading in a wide tactical arc. Each radar ping could signal a convoy of death heading straight for American soil. But what sends chills through the room isn't just the cargo's size, it's the name behind it. The Cartel del Golfo organization isn't just another drug gang. It's a multinational criminal enterprise. Former Sinaloa soldiers, ex-Colombian mercenaries, and Miami-based money launderers operate through dozens of front companies posing as legitimate seafood exporters. As dawn begins to crack the horizon, a gray-haired DEA veteran, a man hardened by too many funerals, whispers to his team, "They've poisoned our churches, our schools, our families. This time, we're cutting off their heads." And so begins the bloodiest manhunt the Gulf Coast has ever witnessed. By mid-morning, brutal heat beats down on the warehouses of Gulfport's South Industrial District. At 1200 Industrial Road, behind rusting shipping containers and idle cranes, sits an unremarkable cold storage facility. From the outside, it looks like any other seafood warehouse. But inside its walls, chilled to -10 degrees Fahrenheit, operates one of the most sophisticated drug logistics centers in the American South. For months, residents have whispered about trucks arriving at strange hours. No labels, no familiar drivers. What they don't know is that this single facility has processed nearly 102 refrigerated drug shipments in just 2 years, each containing up to 200 pounds of methamphetamine hidden beneath layers of imported shrimp and ice. Total street value: over $1.1 billion. In a nearby neighborhood, an elderly woman named Mary Collins sits by her window, watching another ambulance speed past. Her 16-year-old grandson overdosed on synthetic crystal meth produced from this very supply chain. In Gulfport alone, overdoses have exploded by 42% in 2 years, a crisis that's turned local schools into counseling centers and church basements into makeshift drug shelters. Investigators have uncovered a smuggling route that reads like a blueprint for global corruption. Mexico's Bay of Campeche to 45 nautical miles off Pascagoula. Transshipment via high-speed vessels to the port of Gulfport, cold storage processing, then nationwide distribution via unmarked trucks. Every link is greased with bribes and encrypted communications routed through servers in Panama and Singapore. Money laundering ties it all together. 12 shell companies, from seafood importers to supposed charitable foundations, move between $25 and $40 million monthly, disguising the cartel's blood money as legitimate commercial revenue. Local fishermen unknowingly dock alongside vessels carrying both shrimp and poison. The truth cuts deeper than any statistic. The Cartel del Golfo isn't just an external threat. It's embedded in the veins of the Gulf Coast itself, in the schools, churches, and small cafes where life once felt safe. And as the sun climbs higher over the harbor, the stage is set for war. What do you think? Can the U.S. Navy intercept and annihilate this entire billion-dollar drug trade right at sea? Drop your thoughts below. 20 a.m., September 27, 2025, the strike begins. The bay is pitch black and deathly silent. Only the low rumble of engines pierces the fog. 45 nautical miles south of Pascagoula, the radar screen aboard the USCGC Hamilton suddenly blazes to life. The target, a 103-foot freighter registered to a front company in Belize, has just slowed to 8 knots. It's the Cartel del Golfo's flagship vessel, the Morel Fuego, carrying the largest drug shipment the DEA has pursued in half a year. Finally, it's visible. From the bridge, the command rings out sharp and clear. Commence Operation Cold Tide. Within minutes, 6 fast response boats roar through the darkness, their muffled engines slicing through black water like razors. Above, 2 MH-60 Seahawk helicopters swoop in from the north, searchlights off, infrared sensors blazing at maximum capacity. At 3:31 a.m., a drone captures the first clear visual. At least 45 armed guards patrol the deck, some wearing tactical body armor, others gripping AK-103s, M16A2s, and short-barreled Uzi submachine guns. Target identified, the commander announces. Execute. The first wave strikes with surgical precision. 110 flashbangs from 40 CBP officers shatter the silence. Smoke billows across the deck. Without warning, 35 Marines unleash M4A1 rifle fire from their boats, targeting the freighter's superstructure. The cartel doesn't surrender. They return fire indiscriminately, bullets tearing toward the American vessels and naval gunboats. The U.S. Navy cutter Hamilton takes a round to the hull. 3 Navy sailors suffer grazing wounds to the shoulder and arm. They're treated immediately under red combat lights. But the Americans press forward relentlessly. Navy SEALs rappel from helicopters, their suppressed rifles targeting cartel leaders with lethal accuracy. Several smugglers drop instantly. Within 4 brutal minutes, the smuggling vessel is secured and the cartel resistance is crushed. The air fills with the stench of diesel fuel, blood, and salt water. Below deck, agents discover 28 sealed refrigerated containers. Inside, 8,460 pounds of methamphetamine, vacuum-sealed and stamped with the Cartel del Golfo insignia. By 4 a.m., chaos erupts inland. In Gulfport, 4 DEA SWAT teams storm the cold storage facility. Flash grenades light up the night sky, followed by screams and the thunder of boots. Inside, 42 men are cornered, many armed, some frantically attempting to burn evidence. One smuggler tries to flee through the cargo hold, wielding a sawed-off Remington 870 shotgun. He's shot and subdued. When the dust finally settles, the numbers tell a brutal story. 11 cartel members killed, 21 wounded, and 26 captured alive, including 6 senior lieutenants. From sea to shore, 58 arrests, 0 civilian casualties, and 0 American soldiers killed. As dawn breaks over the bay, the smell of gunpowder still hangs in the humid air. The Cartel del Golfo, once considered untouchable, has fallen in less than 90 minutes. For the first time in years, the Gulf Coast can breathe without fear. But don't go anywhere. The takedown is only the beginning. What follows will expose secrets no one on the Gulf Coast was prepared to face. 2 days after the night of thunder and gunfire, the Gulf Coast awakens under a heavy silence. The sea that once concealed a billion-dollar empire now reflects only the quiet hum of patrol boats drifting near the docks. Operation Cold Tide is over, but its echoes reverberate everywhere. By dawn, 58 suspects have been processed through federal custody, 6 high-ranking lieutenants, 20 mid-level coordinators, and 32 enforcers and runners. Federal prosecutors move swiftly, filing indictments under the U.S. Controlled Substances Act, the Racketeer-Influenced and Corrupt Organizations, RICO Act, and Title 18 conspiracy statutes. The DEA officially confirms the seizure of 8,460 pounds of methamphetamine, $5.3 million in cash, 12 offshore bank accounts frozen, and 4 industrial warehouses seized across 3 states. The Gulf Coast hasn't witnessed an operation of this magnitude in over a decade. But beyond the statistics, the community is shaken to its core. Local news cameras flood the streets of Gulfport and Mobile. Reporters interview neighbors who unknowingly lived beside cartel safe houses for years. "We used to think the trucks were just seafood deliveries," says Linda Hart, a cafe owner whose nephew overdosed last winter. "Now I realize they were bringing death every morning." At Gulfport General Hospital, emergency doctors report a strange calm. Overdose admissions have dropped 27% within 72 hours. For the first time in years, the ER is quiet, yet not everything is peaceful. With the syndicate dismantled, small-time dealers fight over the remaining market fragments. Local police record a 15% spike in neighborhood violence as rival crews scramble to fill the void. Economically, over 200 informal jobs, drivers, dock handlers, off-the-books contractors, vanish overnight. Some families, once unknowingly sustained by cartel money, now face eviction. The moral cost of crime becomes clearer than ever. It didn't just poison veins, it built false livelihoods. In a small church on the edge of Mobile Bay, an elderly woman lights a candle. Her son, arrested among the 58, once sang in the church choir. "They took him," she whispers, "but maybe they also saved him." As the Gulf's waters calm, the town begins to reckon with a truth more powerful than the DEA's statistics. Victory always leaves behind the broken pieces of the world it tried to save. Inside the Gulf Coast Regional Command Center in Mobile, Alabama, rows of screens flicker with the final reports from Operation Cold Tide. The mission lasted just 90 minutes, but its consequences are rewriting the region's entire criminal landscape. DEA Director Samuel Carrion opens the debrief with a simple sentence: "Cartel del Golfo no longer exists." Behind him, the data speaks louder than words. $312 million in drugs seized, 12 shell companies frozen across 5 states, 28 offshore transfers intercepted mid-route totaling $87 million in cartel assets. The Gulf smuggling corridor, once described as the invisible artery of America's southern drug trade, is now severed. Intelligence, Analysts estimate the operation will disrupt narcotics flow across the southeastern United States for at least 6 months, a blow rivaling some of the most successful cartel crackdowns of the past decade. Federal agents work around the clock processing 2.4 terabytes of encrypted data recovered from seized laptops, ledgers, money trails, coded transactions, even private messages revealing ties to corrupt customs officers and political donors. What began as a coastal drug bust is now expanding into a nationwide financial investigation. But beyond metrics and arrests, the briefing carries a more human note. In towns like Gulfport, churches and schools reopen community programs with renewed purpose. The Department of Health announces an emergency grant of $3 million to fund addiction treatment and job rehabilitation centers for families affected by the syndicate's collapse. For the first time in years, the Gulf Coast is learning to breathe without fear. As the meeting adjourns, Director Carrion gazes through the glass toward the quiet harbor. "This isn't the end," he says softly. "It's a beginning. The sea doesn't forgive, it remembers. So will we." As dusk falls over Mobile Bay, church bells echo through the humid air. Families gather, candles flickering in their hands. The ocean is calm again, but no longer silent. It has become a witness, a reminder that justice, once awakened, never sleeps. The Gulf sleeps again. Its waves, once carrying poison and blood money, now roll quietly beneath the orange glow of dawn. The docks of Gulfport smell once more of salt, not fear. Fishermen return to the piers. Children walk to school. And for a brief, precious moment, the coast remembers what peace feels like. At DEA headquarters, the Cartel del Golfo case file is sealed and filed under a single label: Operation Cold Tide, complete. But the agents know the ocean never truly keeps its promises. It hides scars beneath its calm surface. Some of the men captured will talk. Others will vanish into legal shadows. The empire has fallen, but its roots, greed, despair, addiction, still reach into the soil of every American town. Yet something has changed. For the first time in years, the community believes again. In law, in order, in hope. Churches hold vigils not for the dead, but for the saved. The $3 million recovery fund begins rebuilding what crime destroyed. Trust. Standing at the harbor, a veteran Coast Guard officer watches the horizon and whispers to himself, "The sea never forgets what it swallows." He knows the war isn't over. But tonight, it's America's tide that rules these waters. And as the sun climbs higher, the Gulf shines not as a border of fear, but as a frontier reclaimed by justice. If you believe America's strength must never be silenced, show your support. Like this video, share it with others, and subscribe to our channel. Because only together can we keep these untold stories alive.